The air is still. No breeze, no sound, just the thick, suffocating silence of the Arctic night. Now imagine that stillness coming with a temperature of -84 degrees Fahrenheit. Not wind chill, actual temperature. A level of cold where metal shatters like glass and exposed skin doesn't sting. It freezes solid in seconds. Most of us have never truly met this kind of cold. Maybe a winter power outage or a ski trip gone sideways gave you a small taste. I once panicked when my heater gave out in January. For a few hours, I thought I was experiencing real survival. I wasn't. Not even close. Because the Arctic doesn't play games. For the Inuit, this isn't just weather, it's home. It's where generations have not only existed, but built a way of life so masterfully adapted that it turns one of the planet's most punishing environments into something livable. Not easy, but possible. And that makes all the difference. Survival here doesn't come from brute strength or sheer endurance. It comes from precision, observation. Thousands of years of trial, error, and adaptation handed down through families like sacred code. Out here, the question isn't, how do you stay alive? It's, how do you sleep when the cold wants to stop your heartbeat? That journey starts with something we often romanticize, the igloo. Most people think of it as a cartoon dome made from snowballs, cute even. But the real version? It's Arctic architecture at its most genius. A perfect blend of form and function, engineered from nothing more than snow, body heat, and human instinct. It's not a random pile of snow molded into a hut. The blocks are carved from hard-packed snow full of tiny air pockets, carefully chosen for its insulating properties. Each piece is angled inward, spiraling up like a frozen seashell into a self-supporting dome. Engineers call this structure a catenoid curve, strong enough to hold weight, flexible enough to absorb movement. Kids might climb on top. It won't collapse, but the magic is on the inside. Inside a properly built igloo, body heat alone can raise the temperature to 60 degrees Fahrenheit. Think about that. No fire, no furnace, just people, some furs, and a bit of trapped air. And suddenly you're warmer inside a house made of snow than you'd be in your car on a January morning without the engine running. The entrance is carved low into the snow, below floor level, creating a cold sink that traps heavier freezing air and keeps it from rising into the living space. And that long, narrow tunnel leading in? It's not for drama, it's a thermal barrier, shielding the warm interior from the Arctic wind outside. The Inuit weren't guessing when they built this. Every choice was made with ruthless efficiency and deep knowledge of how heat moves, how wind behaves, how the human body reacts to deep cold. Even the snow itself becomes part of the insulation system. As the interior warms slightly, a thin layer of snow on the ceiling melts, then refreezes into a solid ice layer, making the structure even more airtight. It's not just shelter. It's a self-improving, self-sealing microclimate. But igloos alone aren't enough. Sleeping in this kind of cold means preparing every detail. What you wear, where you lie, even how you breathe. Because in these temperatures, sweat can be deadly, and every breath you take can either warm you or drain your heat away. We'll get there. Because sleeping in the Arctic isn't about curling up and waiting for morning. It's about strategy, science, and survival passed from generation to generation. Not just in knowledge, but in muscle memory. The deeper we go, the more we uncover how every single action, from how you build your shelter to how you position your limbs, can mean the difference between waking up or not waking up at all. Enjoying the video? Tap the red subscribe button. It's free, quick, and helps others find Arctic stories. Your support keeps the channel alive. Inside the snowbound dome, the outside world disappears. No howling wind, no icy sting, just the soft hush of compacted snow and the rising heat of human presence. But staying warm in an igloo isn't passive. It's not set it and forget it. The heat doesn't come from gadgets or flickering flames. It comes from bodies, breath, and centuries of intelligent layering. Let's start with what people wear, because in -84 degrees Fahrenheit, your clothing isn't just protection, it's equipment. The Inuit aren't bundling up at random. Every layer is deliberate, part of a carefully refined system that turns animal skins into wearable insulation. Closest to the skin is the inner layer, often made from caribou hide with the fur facing inward. Why caribou? Because each individual hair is hollow, trapping air like thousands of microscopic thermoses. That fur draws moisture away from the body, and in the Arctic, sweating is a threat. Dampness equals rapid heat loss. Over that comes the middle layer, often another caribou skin. Its job? Trap more air, not heat, but air, because air is the real insulator. Long before anyone thought to stuff jackets with synthetic fluff or goose down, the Inuit mastered the concept using only what nature gave them. Then comes the outer layer, usually made of sealskin. It's flexible, windproof, and naturally waterproof. While modern jackets puff up and fail once compressed or wet, sealskin doesn't care if you're lying down or pushing through snowdrifts. It keeps doing its job. It's basically Arctic Gore-Tex, but better. And this setup isn't just for walking around. Even for sleeping, these layers stay on. The Inuit sleep fully dressed, layering extra furs or garments as makeshift blankets. There's no tossing and turning in silk pajamas. Every article of clothing is working overtime, but the insulation doesn't stop at the skin. It extends to what lies beneath you. Sleeping directly on snow or ice? That's like lying on a frozen metal slab. Snow drains heat 30 times faster than air. So, the Inuit create raised platforms using layers of caribou hides, woven moss, and dry grasses to lift themselves off the ground, even by just a few inches. That difference? Life-saving. And then, there's what you sleep in. Enter the sealskin sleeping bag lined with caribou fur, a marvel of functional design. The outer sealskin remains flexible even in the coldest temperatures. The inside is packed with air-trapping fur. Together, they form a one-way heat trap. Warmth stays in, moisture escapes out. No fancy synthetic sleeping bag comes close. These sleeping bags are sewn using sinew, tendon from animals, that swells when wet, naturally sealing the seams against moisture. No glue, no zippers. Just biology and brilliance. I once tried waterproofing my gear with modern tech. Woke up wetter than a sea otter in a thunderstorm. Meanwhile, this ancient design has kept people dry during literal blizzards for generations. Even the shape of the bag is thought through. Not too tight, you need to shift, but not loose enough to let warm air escape. It's cozy without being claustrophobic. A snug fit that preserves heat and sanity. But before anyone climbs into these sleeping systems, there's a critical step: pre-warming the area. No, not with an electric blanket, no extension cords here. The Inuit use hot stones, heated over the fire, then wrapped in furs and placed inside the sleeping area. These stones retain heat for hours, acting like a natural thermal battery that radiates warmth through the night. Some communities even maintain rotating fire stations. Families take turns keeping the fire alive to ensure there are always warm stones ready. It's not luxury, it's survival. What looks like improvisation is actually inheritance, knowledge passed down, not just in words, but in materials, techniques, and instinct. Out here, every item has to earn its place. If it doesn't serve a purpose, it doesn't make the cut. Sleeping in the Arctic isn't about comfort, it's about intention. Every stitch, every layer, every breath plays its part in keeping you alive. In the Arctic, the most powerful source of warmth isn't fire. It's not hot stones or thick layers of fur, it's you. The human body, roughly the size of a sleeping bag and the wattage of a 100-watt bulb, gives off a surprising amount of heat. And for the Inuit, learning how to manage that heat isn't optional, it's essential. It begins with something that seems small, but matters more than most people realize: breathing. Take a deep breath in frigid air, and it doesn't just sting, it robs you. Each shallow gasp brings icy air straight to your lungs, draining warmth with every inhale. The Inuit developed a counter-strategy rooted in control: slow, deep nasal breathing. It sounds simple, but it's survival science. The nose warms incoming air by as much as 80 degrees Fahrenheit before it reaches your lungs, turning that first defense line into a personal heat exchanger. The chest stays warm, the lungs work smoother, and less heat is lost to the cold. But there's more to it. Clothing becomes part of the breathing system. The Inuit often breathe into the fur-lined collars of their parkas, creating a humid pocket of air that cushions the face. That breath, it freezes in the fur, forming a crust of ice. Not a problem, but a feature. That ice crust becomes an extra layer of insulation around the mouth and nose. It might not be glamorous, but it's wildly effective. And when night falls, breath control pairs with another brilliant heat source: people. Inuit families often sleep close together, and not just close. Spooned, stacked, curled, everybody a node in a warm, living cluster. Think of it like a natural heat amplifier. 2 people, double the warmth. Add a child, even better, a group of 4. The interior temperature can rise by up to 40 degrees Fahrenheit, powered solely by shared body heat. It's not cuddling for comfort, it's thermal logic. They even have sleeping positions refined for heat retention. The fetal position, limbs pulled close, minimizes surface area and maximizes heat concentration. Hands are tucked into armpits or the groin, places where blood stays warmest. Feet are curled inward, often crossed, protecting toes, which are frostbite's favorite target. And if someone is out hunting or exposed to extreme cold, the warmest sleeping spots and furs are rotated to them. Community before comfort, always. Elevated sleeping platforms. Remember those from the last part? They play a role here too. Warm air rises, so sleeping higher off the ground, even by a foot or 2, places people in the warmest zone of the igloo. It's the Arctic version of a penthouse suite, except your walls are snow and your roommates are essential. And here's something modern campers often overlook: rest cycles. You'd think a full night's sleep would be ideal, but in deep cold, that's dangerous. The longer you stay still, the more your core temperature drops. So, the Inuit practice Arctic napping, short 90-minute rest periods followed by light movement, enough to warm the body back up without dipping too far into hypothermia territory. Even sleeping alone is handled with precision. If the group is spread out or someone's traveling solo, they might use a thin layer of powdery snow pulled over their body, a surprisingly effective way to trap body heat and form a makeshift insulated microclimate. It's cold, yes, but warmer than lying exposed. A natural blanket forged by the very thing most people are trying to avoid. But even all this preparation won't help without the right fuel. The body is a furnace, sure, but only if it has fuel to burn. Out in the Arctic, staying warm isn't just about what's around you. It's about what's inside you. Not the clothes, not the shelter, the fuel. Because the body is a furnace, and like any good fire, it only burns if it's fed. The Inuit learned this the hard way, through generations of survival, observation, and adaptation. And what they discovered? Food isn't just nourishment, it's heat. The typical Inuit diet is up to 75% fat. Not the kind you avoid on a grocery store label, but the dense, raw, energy-packed fat that can turn a freezing night into something survivable. This isn't a snack before bed culture. There are no granola bars or protein shakes. Instead, there's whale blubber, seal meat, caribou fat, and fish oil, all loaded with calories and omega-3s. Take muktuk, for example, frozen whale skin and blubber. Just a few ounces pack over 500 calories, most of it from pure fat. And here's the magic. It digests slowly, releasing energy gradually over several hours. It's like having a slow-burning coal stove inside your stomach. This isn't accidental. The Inuit intentionally eat certain foods before sleep because they understand that digestion produces heat. The process itself is a biological heater, working silently as they sleep. It's thermal strategy disguised as tradition. There's also a kutak, sometimes referred to as Eskimo ice cream. Don't let the name fool you, it's not dessert. It's a high-performance fuel mix of animal fat, berries, and snow. Together, it delivers fats, carbs, and a touch of vitamin-rich fruit. The cold may not allow leafy greens, but this frosty blend keeps the internal engine running clean and hot. Even more fascinating, raw meat. The Inuit often eat meat raw, not due to a lack of cooking method, but because raw meat demands more from the body to digest. That extra metabolic effort means more internal heat. It sounds primitive to outsiders. To those living in the cold, it's pragmatic genius. Some even eat thin slices of frozen meat, slowly chewed and warmed by body heat before swallowing. This forces the digestive system to work harder, raising internal temperatures in the process. It's not a luxury, it's survival through metabolic resistance. And modern science backs it up. Fat, especially from animals, generates significantly more heat during digestion than carbs or protein. It's called the thermic effect of food, something the Inuit have been using expertly long before it had a scientific name. They didn't need a lab to figure it out. Just experience, just survival. What's more, they know how to time their meals to align with sleep. Eating just before bed means their bodies stay in a digestive state for much of the night, producing heat exactly when it's most needed. No campfire, no heater, just biology. And this isn't just for grown hunters. The knowledge starts young. Children are taught what to eat, when to eat, and why it matters. Food becomes more than sustenance. It becomes a tool, a weapon against the cold. But even the best fuel can burn out fast if your mind turns against you. Because in the Arctic, one dangerous thing isn't the temperature, it's your own thoughts. That creeping panic, that fear of the cold, that mental spiral that says, "I'm freezing." The moment you believe it, your body starts to respond. Which brings us to one of the Inuits' most surprising survival techniques, thermal meditation. Not myths, not mysticism. Mental discipline as a physical strategy. When the temperature drops low enough to freeze metal in seconds and silence even the wind, there's a deeper enemy that emerges, your own mind. Long before frostbite sets in, or your body temperature dips too far, your thoughts can betray you. In extreme cold, panic doesn't creep in. It slams the door open. That's why, for the Inuit, survival isn't just physical. It's profoundly mental. The cold whispers lies. It tells you that you're not warm enough, that you can't make it through the night, that sleep might never come. And when that voice gets loud, the body reacts. Muscles tense, breathing shortens. Energy burns faster. Heat drains from the core. The heart races. You shiver harder. Every one of those reactions, meant to protect you, ends up doing the opposite. You lose heat faster just because you think you're in danger. So, how do the Inuit fight that voice? They don't fight it at all. They retrain it. What may sound like ancient wisdom or cultural tradition is actually a set of powerful science-backed mental strategies passed down through generations, rooted in observation, repetition, and storytelling. Among these strategies, the most powerful is what could be called thermal meditation. It's not a ritual, it's not spiritual, it's not even formal. It's a mental practice built into the way children are raised and adults endure. The goal? To master the mind so it no longer responds to the cold with fear, but with control. Some Inuit practice visualization. As they lie inside their igloos or snow caves, they imagine warmth. Not metaphorically, literally. They picture the soft golden flicker of a seal oil lamp. They envision it glowing across their limbs, inch by inch. That image, that focus, actually slows the heart rate. Muscles relax. Breathing deepens. The body slips into a calmer, more energy-efficient state. Heat is preserved. Shivering stops. Studies in thermoregulation have shown that meditative visualization can reduce involuntary shivering and lower oxygen consumption by up to 10% during rest. That's not mythology. That's biological efficiency driven by mental clarity. It's not just for sleep either. Inuit hunters use similar techniques during long, motionless hours on sea ice, where moving would scare away prey and expose them to wind. By breathing slowly and focusing on warmth spreading from their core, they resist cold longer and keep their hands and feet functional without extra gear. The training begins young, not through drills or lectures, but through stories. In Inuit bedtime tales, there are legends of hunters so at peace in their shelters that they slept through entire seasons. It's funny, but it teaches a core idea. Your shelter is safety. It's not something to fear, it's something to trust. Children grow up associating snow walls and quiet nights with comfort, not danger. Other stories teach posture, breathing rhythms, or the importance of conserving movement. They don't call it meditation, but that's exactly what it is. A survival guide folded into folklore, delivered with laughter instead of lectures. The mental strength of the Inuit isn't superhuman, it's cultural conditioning, built over centuries, designed to prepare minds to withstand what most would find unbearable. And perhaps most fascinating of all, they don't treat this as exceptional. To them, this is normal. You can't beat Arctic cold with willpower alone. But calm, that's a weapon. quiet resolve is more effective than panic. A steady breath does more than a thick coat. And the right mindset, shaped not by force, but by family, stories, and lived experience, can make the difference between hypothermia and a full night's rest. But as powerful as the mind is, even it doesn't survive in isolation. Because the final, irreplaceable piece of the puzzle isn't inside the igloo or the sleeping bag, it's the people around you. The Inuit don't survive alone, they survive together. In the Arctic, the wind doesn't care how strong you are. The cold doesn't flinch at your experience. Out here, even the most skilled individual is no match for the environment alone. That's why the Inuit don't just survive through ingenuity, they survive through community. Forget rugged individualism. In Inuit life, the group is the strategy. Inside an igloo, warmth comes not just from design or clothing, but from bodies gathered together. Families sleep side by side, curled tightly to share body heat. Children, parents, and elders form what you might call a thermal cluster. And the difference it makes is dramatic. The combined body heat of 4 or 5 people can raise the temperature inside an igloo by up to 54 degrees Fahrenheit. But this isn't just a pile of people huddled together. There's an unspoken system. Elders often sleep near the center, where heat concentration is highest. Children are bundled close, protected by layers of fur and the warmth of adults. Those returning from hunts, especially ones exposed to brutal cold, are given the best spots and sleeping gear without question. In some communities, people even rotate sleeping bags. Certain families are known for crafting the warmest, most reliable furs. These sleeping bags become shared resources, passed to whoever needs them most, whether it's a hunter recovering from exposure or a sick child needing extra insulation. The teamwork doesn't stop there. Entire families might specialize in different survival skills. Some are experts at cutting and stacking snow blocks. Others know how to build the most efficient shelters. And some are trusted with cooking high-fat meals that keep the community fueled through the night. When a storm is coming, it's not just one person building shelter. It's all hands on deck. Even their travel routes are shaped by this collective mindset. Across the tundra, there are marked emergency shelters, snow caves pre-dug, platforms pre-built, small caches of supplies hidden away for travelers caught in whiteouts. These aren't private stashes. They're for anyone who needs them. It's like a network of Arctic rest stops, except instead of snacks and fuel, you get a block platform to lie on and a chance to stay alive. And through it all, there's humor. Because even in the most hostile conditions, laughter remains a tool of survival. There's an old story about a man who snored so loudly he was kicked out of the igloo. The family soon realized how much warmth he provided and brought him back in. The joke lands, but the message is clear. Everyone matters. Out here, warmth is trust. It's knowing that someone will shift closer when you shiver. It's sharing the last slab of caribou fat. It's the quiet agreement that no one sleeps cold if another person is warm. The Inuit understand what many forget. Survival isn't just an individual achievement. It's a collective commitment. Sometimes, survival doesn't give you time to prepare. The sun is dropping fast. The wind is screaming sideways. The snow isn't right for building. You're not near your village. And just like that, there's no igloo, no fire, no backup. This is where Inuit survival becomes raw, stripped down to instinct, speed, and ancestral memory. Because even when nature offers nothing but wind and snow, they've found ways to endure. First priority, stop the wind. Wind is the real killer. It robs heat faster than cold alone ever could. That's why one of the Inuit's fastest emergency tools is the windbreak, a simple half-circle or U-shaped wall of snow built on the windward side. It might not look like much, but it can drop the wind chill around your body by 20 to 30 degrees instantly. Just blocking that airflow creates a thin bubble of warm air. Not cozy, but enough to slow down heat loss, which can mean the difference between lasting through the night or not. Next, the ground. Sleeping on snow is like lying on dry ice. Snow pulls heat from your body 30 times faster than air. So, you don't just lie down. You build upward, even if just by a few inches. Caribou hides are ideal, but if those aren't available, dry grasses, moss, or even bundled clothing become life-saving insulation. Then comes position. You can't sleep stretched out like you're in a warm bed. The Inuit curl into tight, compact fetal positions. Arms are crossed, hands tucked into armpits, legs bend, feet pulled close to the core. Every inch of surface area left exposed is an open invitation to frostbite. Fingers and toes? Frostbite's favorite targets. So, hands go deep under the arms or between the thighs. Feet are crossed, curled inward. And if you're not alone, you huddle. Back to back. Chest to chest. This isn't comfort, it's calculation. Clothing stays on, every layer, nothing gets peeled off. Sometimes, even the next day's clothing is packed between layers or pressed against the body while sleeping, so you're not slipping into frozen gear come morning. That one trick alone can prevent shock when the cold hits again at dawn. And here's a trick most people don't know: sleeping under fresh snow. If conditions allow and the snow is light and dry, a thin layer can be pulled over the body. It creates a natural thermal barrier, and trapping your body heat and forming a microclimate around you. Nature's version of a blanket, rough but remarkably effective. When snow caves are an option, they're used fast. Unlike igloos, snow caves don't need precision-cut blocks, just deep drifts and a snow knife, or even bare hands. The ideal site is on the lee side of a hill, shielded from the wind. A downward sloping tunnel leads to a raised sleeping platform inside, keeping the cold air at the bottom while warmth gathers where you rest. Even in these, a vent hole is poked through the ceiling to let out carbon dioxide. Yes, even in the cold, you can suffocate without airflow. And sleep? Not long and peaceful. Arctic napping is the rhythm, short 90-minute bursts, broken by brief movement to restart circulation. Then rest again. Long stillness equals danger. Movement equals warmth. Out here, survival is fast, creative, and precise. It's not about endurance. It's about knowing the land, knowing your body, and knowing what to do next when nothing around you seems enough. But even with all these tools, the Inuit's deepest strength remains what they carry within. Surviving the Arctic isn't about just one thing. It's not the igloo alone, not the clothes, the food, or the breathing tricks. It's the whole system, a web of inherited knowledge, instinctive response, and community support. It's ancestral engineering forged not in laboratories, but in blizzards, on ice floes, and under dark skies when the nearest help was days away. At the center of it all is a truth the Inuit know well. You don't outfight the cold, you outsmart it. They've shown us that survival isn't about being the toughest or the strongest. It's about observation, adaptation, and a culture built on respect for the environment. You don't resist nature, you learn from it. You work with it. You bend, shift, and adjust until you're not just existing, you're living. And from the very beginning, this mindset is passed down, not through drills, but through stories. Inuit children don't learn survival skills from textbooks. They learn from tales around fires, from jokes about hunters who sleep through spring in their igloos, from laughter that masks life lessons. These stories teach fear management, breathing rhythms, shelter techniques, all wrapped in folklore. What might sound silly to outsiders is actually training disguised as tradition. And at the core of it all is a belief that you are never truly alone, even in a whiteout, even in minus 84 degrees Fahrenheit. Whether in an igloo or a snow cave, a group huddled together, or a lone hunter relying on breath and mental clarity, the Inuit rely on something deeper than technique: each other. Community is the ultimate insulation. They rotate warm gear based on need, not status. They share heat, resources, and even humor like it's survival currency, because out here, it is. The man who was once kicked out for snoring, he was let back in once his family realized his body heat was too valuable to waste. A funny story, yes, but also a reminder: every person is part of the system, and this legacy doesn't fade. It lives in the materials used, the precision in each igloo block, the decision to eat before bed, the instinct to breathe slow, the silence during storms, and the warmth passed between backs at night. It's in the discipline, the generosity, the calm under pressure. Every piece connects, every action, thought, and choice serving one purpose: stay alive, stay warm, stay together. The Inuit don't just survive the cold, they've made peace with it, partnered with it. They've built lives, raised families, and told jokes under snow ceilings while winds roared outside. And maybe that's what's most humbling. It's not just the gear or the science or even the skill. It's the mindset. The ability to find stillness when everything in your body screams panic. The courage to breathe slowly, share warmth, and trust in techniques refined over thousands of years. The choice to respect what most of us fear. So the next time you wrap up on a chilly night, remember, there are people who've not only mastered the cold, but made it home. If this journey through Arctic survival left you inspired, amazed, or just grateful for central heating, be sure to like this video. Subscribe for more deep dives into forgotten knowledge, ancestral wisdom, and science-driven storytelling. Drop a comment. What part of the Inuit sleeping system impressed you the most? And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss our next exploration. Thanks for watching, stay curious, stay warm, and we'll see you in the next one.